Welcome back to our second segment of Chamber Exchange, the TV show. I want to thank our sponsors, Bank Hometown and St. Vincent Hospital, that helped make it happen. I want to thank Tyler Hadley for joining us, as he's the Vice President of Sales for DDS Acoustical Specialties. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Well, Tyler, we were talking in anticipation of the segment beginning about your company, and it's really kind of a niche what you do. And DDS Acoustical Specialties works with companies, organizations, public entities about how do you make sure that people and spaces can be heard, and maybe you can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, of course. So we started our business in 2019, so we're still fairly new.
Yeah.
And we really want to help businesses, companies solve any types of noise problems they have. This can be related to comfort, privacy, echo and noise reduction, as well as industrial safety. So we go in everywhere from architectural, industrial, exterior types of applications. And there was just a missing part in the market where there's a lot of materials that you can find out there, but not a whole lot of people that'll help you determine what you really need in order to solve a problem. So that's kind of where we come in and provide a full turnkey solution, make sure people are educated and kind of know what they're getting into. And it's not a one-size-fits-all type of application either. An office is going to be very different than an industrial application, or an office is going to be different than a gymnasium per se. So there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of different materials people can use that are vary in aesthetic and look and design. So we give people all those options. Yeah,
and you're based in Westfield, Mass, but as the Vice President of Sales, you cover all of New England, and that includes Central Mass, of which you're a native of as well. So, you know, housing is the number one issue on people's minds, locally, regionally, nationally, for that matter. And so when companies are looking to build spaces, do things, you want noise reduction. Are there going to be rooms where there are going to be events, you know, or we also talk about adaptive reuse of buildings, whether it be, you know, churches or buildings that were formerly office buildings that are now being converted to housing. You can help the end user, but also kind of the construction builders. You work kind of the gamut about how do you look at noise, not just, you know, if somebody's upstairs, how do you prevent that noise from bothering somebody in their apartment? There's a common area that's going to be used, how to make sure that it can be used so people can hear. Yeah, walk through some examples.
Yeah, certainly. So we work with everybody from like the architects to the builders to the end users. Certainly when it comes to architects and builders, I mean, those are generally products that might be specified in. So when we're talking about housing, we're talking about things that are related to the walls, floors, and ceilings primarily. Getting into some of the science of acoustics, it's more mass means more noise blocking capabilities. So there are a variety of materials that can go either within wall and ceiling assemblies, floor assemblies to help kind of reduce some of that impact noise from footsteps or objects dropping and things like that. Primarily what we work in is a lot of retrofit projects, as you mentioned, like churches being reused for like event spaces and things like that. We've seen a lot of schools kind of making sure that their areas are working towards a better sounding space for classrooms and gymnasiums. And those are generally kind of what we call reverberation issues. Yeah. It's spaces that are really echoey, and once you get a whole bunch of kids or people into a space, it gets really loud. And it's usually because of lots of hard reflective surfaces in that space.
And that's where you can work on absorbing some of the sound, protect all of that.
Right, exactly.
And what about like people who, do you work with, okay, this is going to be the common area, we're going to need speakers, we're going to need a microphone. Do you work in that space too?
When it comes to technology, we really don't dabble into that field. I mean, we have partners that are more of the AV professionals, and we'll work with them also on some projects if they come into a space where they find that it's not acoustically treated well enough, because I mean you start throwing speakers in a room that's already reverberant, it's just going to get loud and muddy and whatnot. So generally we'll bring in people if folks are looking for those types of services.
So if you're an end user, you could be a developer, a builder, someone that's converting a space. You mentioned a church that's being converted, schools. It's not, I mean, at the front end of a project, they should be asking these questions of contractors, of the architects, Because the worst thing in the world that can happen is to build something and then have dead space, or apartment building where tenants aren't going to stay because of noise disruptions and things. So it's something maybe you wouldn't think of out of the gate, but if you're making a major investment, you want to make sure you're thinking, what's the ability to max out and make sure the space and investment is successful, right?
Yeah, it's always best to design it kind of at the front end. What we found, though, however, is a lot of people don't like to budget, or really, oftentimes it's cost engineered out of a project at the time of build, which is kind of where we tend to come in after the fact.
Okay.
And then people say, hey, we have an issue. This is what we're experiencing. Like, all right, now it might be a little bit more expensive now that you're trying to do it on the back end, but there's still opportunities to solve those problems. Right.
Do you have any favorites or unique situations or problems that you've solved? I know you're the sales guy, but I got a sense your company, everyone's does a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, a couple of things that have been interesting over the past couple of years. Pickleball has been a really kind of interesting application all over the country.
Yes, you read about
pickleball noise complaints have been all over the place. So we do make a number of noise barrier systems that go over existing fences to help kind of block some of the noise transmitting out of pickleball courts. Is one example. We've worked with a number of like dog kennel facilities and like pet daycare type of areas that are just loud and noisy. And then a lot of the projects with like the school and educational facilities. We've done a couple like arenas. We've done some gyms at some of the universities around the state and in New England. Are always fun, and you kind of never really know where you're going when it comes to noise. Noise is everywhere.
Right.
So there's lots of opportunities to get involved.
Yeah, and I would assume that will kind of continue to grow, especially kind of with this issue around housing. People looking at buildings that were never built that way, but obviously good bones, centrally located. Worcester, right now as we speak, there's a conversion of an office building in downtown, the old Fallon building that's being converted into housing. So I suspect your phone will keep ringing.
Yeah, we're hoping. I mean, we're happy to be a resource whenever noise issues come about, and whether it's from design or it's from a retrofit project, we're happy to take a look. And generally, we'll come in, we'll do what we have to do and take measurements, run some tests. If it kind of has to go above what our expertise and scope is, then we'll bring in the appropriate people. But anything that noise related, we're here.
So if somebody's right now watching, if there's a noise issue that they're dealing with, or a company that's trying to appease or address something or get ahead of an issue, how do they usually engage your services or get a hold of you?
Yeah, so people can reach us at our phone number, which is 413-248-8118, or we just launched a newly redesigned website about a week ago. So they can find us at www.ddsacoustical.com. Fill out that contact form and we'll get right back to you.
Yeah. So Tyler Hadley, Vice President of Sales, DDS Acoustical Specialties. Really interesting, niche business that's important. And love the pickleball kennel analysis, but work with a whole wide range of companies on noise reduction solutions. Good stuff.
Definitely. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, we're going to come back for our final segment. Stay with us.
These days, you've got your hands full in life. That's why we help you bank simply and securely with tools like Face ID and Touch ID. It's why we make it easy to make purchases on the go and get cash back while you're at it. Why we help you quickly deposit checks wherever you are. And it's why we lend a hand with sending and receiving money right from your phone. So even when you're on the move, you can manage your finances. Bank Hometown. Unlock your potential.
Worcester, a city with heart, history, and promise. A hub of innovation in life sciences, education, and healthcare. Home to multi-generational families, first-generation citizens, and next-generation baseball and hockey greats. Home to great parks, world-class museums, theaters, and restaurants. Worcester, the place to visit, to invest, and to call home.